So how do you deal with depression? Yeah, this is a huge subject. Look, serious numbers of people are dealing right now with what is described in the more scientific world as clinical depression, and will be taking, bucket loads of medication to see if they can quell those symptoms and feel just a tad better. So hi, my name's Tony V here from the 1010 movement. How to move from a life where you might well be struggling to a life of a more success, what I call more of a 10 out of 10 experience. Now, is that possible when you are in a more depressive state? Well, the answer is, if you want to believe it, yes. Now, look, there are two schools of thought here. We've got traditional medicine, and I am definitely never going to make traditional medicine wrong. The modern science world of traditional medicine does some great work. Now, having said that, with millions and millions and millions of people in the Western world struggling with depression right now, surely is there a way to look at it from an alternative? Now, some people are going to go, don't get into that pseudoscience stuff, but look, if we give all of our power to somebody else to fix us, then there is an alternative. And that alternative is to look at what I describe sometimes as the more Eastern way of looking at life. Look, the Western world since Newton and the Newtonians has moved towards a more science-based way of living. And I'm not making that wrong. I'm just saying, if that's not working for you, then there is an alternative way, and it comes from the more Eastern way. So we could call it pseudoscience if we want, but look, if you tried it out and it works for you, then hey, look, there's nothing to be lost. So what in the Eastern world would they do with somebody, or what would they say about somebody who's struggling with depressive tendencies? The presenting problem is never the real problem. What is underneath that? And what is underneath that, if we look at the alternatives, we look at the more Eastern way of looking at this, what is underneath it is that somehow we are what I call disconnected from the flow. So if you watch some of my other videos, you go, right, okay, we've got this switch which connects us to, look, this is where it gets a bit woo-woo. When we're depressed, feel disconnected. We feel disconnected. We feel separate from everything and everyone else. Now, if that disconnection is the problem, that disconnection is what leads us to depression, then actually the taking of drugs or whatever it is that you're doing to overcome that problem is not going to solve the disconnection problem. What we need to do is to look and go, okay, what do you mean by disconnected, and what can I do to see if I could find that switch that will connect me back up again, yeah? Because look, the truth is that, in the quantum world, everything and everyone is all interconnected. All the different parts of us, our mind, our body, our spirit, they're all interconnected. But in the more egoic mind of the Western world has sort of proliferated within us, we feel disconnected. So could we effectively, once we know that we're disconnected, switch the switch on and connect ourselves back to sort of, this is definitely woo-woo, all that is, everything that is. And could it be that when we find that switch and we turn it on, our depression starts to disappear? How cool would that be? So look, I am encouraging you to look at the alternatives. If you go on Dr. Google, I wouldn't personally do that, because that's just going to show you more about clinical depression. That's the scientific way of looking at it. But if you go and research a little bit more about some of the alternatives out there, which could start with some of the very core martial arts, things like Qigong, for example, a wonderful practice. Go and have a look at some of these things and go, could it be that I could train myself to get connected, get centered, get grounded, get to be part of the whole again, that actually if I learned more about that, then I could overcome the depression without the use of the drugs. I might wean myself back off of those and start to feel more whole again, more, as I would say, connected to self. Once we're connected to ourself, then we can start to reconnect with everything else around us. So I don't have like a top thing. I could give you things that you could do, but what I'm encouraging you to do is look at some Eastern ways. In other words, take some of our power back that we may have, inadvertently, or, look, we've been trained to go, if we're not well, let's go to the doctors. And I'm going, look, that's all good. If that still isn't working for you, or if you'd like to find a different way, there is another whole bunch of stuff over here where you need to go and do a little bit of research, start understanding, do some different practices. For example, thinking, the way we think is a big part of what creates our depression. So imagine for a moment, you stop thinking. Now, look, I remember once going to a guy and he said this, to me, if you could stop thinking, I believe everything in your life could change. And then of course my thinking, because I'm so practiced at thinking in a certain way, I thought, well, how do you stop thinking? And he said, before I was able to get it back out of my mouth, he said, and I don't want you to think how you're going to stop thinking. I'm going, wow, okay, now you've got me now. How does that all work? But look, imagine it's our thinking that is one of the underlying things that causes us to be depressed. So imagine you learn to maybe stop thinking in the way that you currently do. In other words, there is a different operating system. The thinking operating system has become how we've come to operate in the Western world. There are other operating systems, as I often say, which once you can tap into them and you tone down or even switch off your thinking, wow, now we've got a whole different way of experiencing life. Which, instead of being a struggle, look, if our thinking has caused us to live in a struggle, we're worrying, we're anxious, or we're even depressed about things, then surely we need to perhaps consider how we think about things differently. So look, check out some of the alternatives, start to learn and look at yourself, put your attention to healing thyself, as the old saying goes. So really that's it from me, Tony V, on this. If you've got something from this, or you know somebody really struggling with depression, yes, it might not seem, a sensible thing to do, to be shared with people that they can find a way to heal thyself. But look, if they are struggling right now and what they're doing is not working and they've been long term in this position, could it be that by taking some inner action, should we say, to just look, I'm not saying don't do that, I'm saying do this as well, and then see if you can have play a part in healing, starting the healing journey of healing yourself in some way or other. So it's like turning life from a struggle to having life to be more successful. So look, if you've got something out of this, that's absolutely fantastic. If you're new to the channel, welcome here. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you've got any questions or comments, please stick those in the box below. Happy to answer any questions that you've got. In the next video, which will appear up here, there'll be more stuff about how you can help yourself with things like anxiety, depression, and all of that sort of stuff. And if you're interested in experiencing a better life in perhaps other areas of your life as well, there'll be a video down here which will teach you a little bit how to do that, how to look at life in ways that might be more supportive, more empowering, and less disempowering. So that's it from me, Tony V, from the 1010 Movement. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.